Welcome back to Leading Edge. As promised, the other challenger vying to become Toledo's next mayor, Jan Scotland, joining us here. Mr. Scotland served on Toledo City Council back in the 80s, ran to become a county commissioner back in 2008. 4 years before that, he was a Jefferson Award recipient. Folks, there's nothing higher in the world of public service. I think much of that recognition came from his support for youth activities. I mean, we got a guy here who actually founded his own athletic league in the late 90s. He's a successful private businessman of the insurance industry. Mr. Scotland, good to see you. Life is good. We go back a bit.
That's right.
Life is good. You don't need the pressure. Why do you want to be Toledo's next mayor?
Well, you know, if you want to be biblical about it, there's a story of talents. And when you have the talents and you do nothing with them, then you're not looked upon as gracefully as you should be. I have the talent to do this job, and I don't plan to bury him and waste time. The city needs the help. It needs a change, and they need to make a decision that they're going for a change as opposed to sticking with the same old things that don't work.
All right, let's talk about some of the things that do and don't work. We just had the city's anti-gun violence czar, as I called him, Juwan Armour. You know Juwan, had him on the program. He enumerated many of the issues he thinks got us into the deadly mess we're in Toledo and around the country. What do you think got us here locally? And I know late this week you had a press conference to trot out what you think will get us out of it. What got it? Let's get to what gets us out of this thing.
Well, what got us into it is defunding ideas that have not come to fruition, luckily. But this total disrespect for the police department, the anti-police involvement, and it's really a dangerous situation. We've gotten out of community policing because the police are not trusted, and the police don't want to go into communities because if they do their job, sometimes they end up being held up on charges. And so you got that dynamic going on, and the end result of it is it's emboldened a lot of criminals to go out and do what they want to do, and it is causing some enormous problems for our youth, and all those things are bad.
Let's go with that, because you've been very supportive. This Jan Scotland, folks, wants to be our mayor. You've been very public in your support of police, no doubt. A, Jan, do we have enough of them? And B, do you support a heavier police presence in the areas of town where the violence is occurring? Because former Mayor Finkbeiner, on our program last week, espoused that much heavier police presence. What do you think?
Well, two things. Police are retiring in bigger numbers. We're having a hard time recruiting police officers because of the atmosphere that's out there. So that is a disastrous situation. People know that there's not that much coverage. And yes, we do need more police coverage, but how do we go about getting it? And so it's great to say we need to have more people there, but if you are not supporting it, they don't know they have your back 100%, then you're not going to be able to recruit them, and you're not going to be able to retain them. So we have to start with making sure that they know that the people they work for support them and want to see them out there. And then we have to get out in the community and get the community leaders to also get back into the groove of saying that police officers are important to our community. We need them because they and the parents and the social workers in those various areas have to be there supporting in order to get things done. And then the third thing is you got to be prepared for what's going to happen. Because when you have that increased presence, you're also going to probably have to increase the arrest and things of that sort. But people have to make a decision. Do you want your community to be safe, or do you want to coddle people who are endangering not only folks that they may be in conflict with, but innocent bystanders and young kids who are getting shot and killed?
Clearly you believe, I talked about, I just glossed over, he's been doing this for years, decades, people. As young as he is, he's been doing this for decades.
I'm just as young as you are. You look good for it.
Well, and you shaved off your gray, that makes you look younger. Clearly you believe youth programs are part of the solution. What I find interesting here, Jan Scotland, is how you would fund them, because if I'm reading it right, it's not through the city budget. Explain that.
Well, you remember that Metro Parks was a disaster before it was turned over to the Metro Parks. The city doesn't have enough commitment to various projects to allow them to continue to run them. We have $180 million in being looked at as to various ways of using it. We have to set up a nonprofit. We have to properly fund it upfront until it's able to get its own funds, which it can do through levies or things of that sort. But we have to fund it upfront to get it up and started and prove to the people of Toledo that we can have the services that we deserve. The parks are in total disrepair. The pools have to be repaired every year. The leagues that we used to have are all gone. And there's just bits and pieces of things being recommended that don't work because the people are doing don't understand it. Now, I've got the unique position that I've been in youth athletics and enrichment for 30 years now. And I know what works, and I know how to pull these people together. And we've done it before, but the commitment, which is the money, always goes away. So we got to set up a situation where the organization has and raises its own money. And we can do that.
I take it you would take then some of the incoming $180 million over a couple of years upcoming, and is that where you would get the funding for startup? You said until we should raise them on its own. Where else do you think that huge influx of federal cash dollars should go?
Well, infrastructure is a big thing in Toledo, and people keep talking about it. But the problem with what they come up with, which is the promise of roads, is that there's no transparency. And so when you don't have transparency, then that money can flow to all kinds of different places that have nothing to do with infrastructure, or just has to do with special interests. Now, example of that is, it's not a direct example, but we have the Solheim Cup coming in. And man, of course, my office is across the street from this. So we got great streets, we got great sidewalks, we got all kinds of things going on, which I agree with because the world is going to be looking at us. It wouldn't be so bad if people knew when we were going to get to their roads and to their trees and to their garbage that's laid out there. And that's where the transparency has to come in. We have to set up a system that shows everybody when they're going to be addressed and stick to it. When I was on council back in '87, I think I was talking to the guy from the Department of Forestry, and I said, I want to see a wide range, a comprehensive plan for handling forestry and where you're going to be and all that good stuff. And the guy looked at me and said, well, if we do that, then we have to do it. I said, well, yeah.
Make a commitment, yeah.
And that's what's missing here. We don't have any accountability. So people do not have to, they can make these promises, but 4 years later, they may point out the places that they went, but the place that you're interested is nowhere in sight.
Running as a Republican?
Yes.
All right, sir. It's a three-way race. And as we said last week with Cardi Finkbeiner, hey, folks, game on. I want to thank Toledo mayoral candidate Jan Scotland, keeping us on the leading edge of his bid to take the reins down at City Hall and what he would do as the city's top elected official. Best to you. Good to see you, my friend. And we will be right back.